The millionaire's son had finally brought someone home, a young, black girl whose presence filled the mansion with quiet grace. But the moment his mother laid eyes on her, everything shifted. Her smile faltered, her breath caught, and her gaze locked, not on the girl's face, but on the necklace resting delicately against her skin. For a moment, time seemed to stop. That necklace wasn't just jewelry. It was a key to a past the family had tried to bury. A past filled with secrets and betrayal. The mother's expression hardened, and in that instant, the room turned cold. Edward Langston was a man of fortune, power, and tradition. His family lived in a mansion where reputation mattered more than truth, where appearances were guarded more fiercely than the riches, locked away in the family vault. To Edward's wife, Margaret, social standing was everything. She was elegant, polished, and determined to maintain the family's flawless image. Their son, William, however, was different. Unlike his parents, he didn't care for the masks of high society. While his father measured worth in bank accounts and his mother in appearances, William measured it in kindness and authenticity. So when he met Maya, a young black woman studying literature at his university, he saw not her race, not her background, but the strength and warmth that radiated from her. To William, bringing her home was simple. He wanted his parents to meet the woman who made him happy. But to Margaret, that moment was nothing short of earth-shattering. The evening Maya first stepped into the Langston mansion, the air seemed to hum with tension. She was polite, soft-spoken, and carried herself with quiet dignity. William stood proudly beside her, introducing her with a smile that showed he had already made his choice. Margaret greeted her with the well-practiced charm of a society woman. But as Maya lowered her head politely, a glimmer caught Margaret's eye. It was the necklace. A small silver locket, worn with age yet carefully preserved, rested against Maya's skin. To anyone else, it might have seemed ordinary, but Margaret knew better. That necklace was identical to one she had last seen. Decades ago, around the neck of someone her family had wronged. Her blood ran cold. Margaret's hand trembled slightly as she led William and Maya into the dining room. She masked her shock with a smile, but inside, her heart raced. That necklace! She would have recognized it anywhere. Dinner passed with strained politeness. Edward carried the conversation with his usual pride, boasting of investments and political connections. William and Maya exchanged quiet glances, the warmth between them soft but undeniable. Yet Margaret barely tasted her food. Her eyes kept drifting back to the locket, and with every glance, old memories clawed their way back to the surface. Long ago, before wealth insulated her from consequence, Margaret had grown up in a small town. Her family, though respected, carried deep prejudices. One summer, her younger brother had fallen in love with a black woman named Lillian. The relationship caused outrage in the family, especially among Margaret's parents. They forbid him from seeing her, threatening to cut him off if he didn't end it. One evening there had been a fight, shouting, slamming doors, tears, and then Lillian was gone. She vanished from their lives, leaving behind nothing but whispers of betrayal and cruelty. But Margaret remembered one thing clearly. Lillian had always worn a silver locket, identical to the one Maya now carried. Margaret's chest tightened as she realized what it could mean. Was Maya connected to Lillian? Was this necklace more than coincidence? After dinner, when William stepped away to take a call, Margaret found herself alone with Maya. Her voice was soft, but unsteady as she asked, "That necklace, where did you get it?" Maya touched it gently, her expression tender. "It belonged to my grandmother. She told me it was a gift from someone who loved her dearly. It's the only piece of her I carry with me." Margaret's world tilted. The truth settled in like ice. Maya was Lillian's granddaughter. The girl her son had fallen in love with was the descendant of the woman her family had forced out of their lives. The woman whose love story had been torn apart by prejudice and control. Margaret excused herself quickly, retreating to the study. She shut the door, pressing her back against it, her hands trembling. Decades of silence, of buried guilt, of carefully crafted reputation, all of it crumbled in a single evening. When William returned, he found his mother pale and distant. He asked if she was all right, but she brushed him off with a fragile smile. That night, long after the guests had gone to bed, Margaret sat alone in the study, the shadows stretching long across the room. For hours, she stared at an old photograph she kept hidden away, a picture of her brother and Lillian, smiling together in defiance of the world. The memory brought tears she had buried for decades. She had stood by silently when her parents tore them apart. She had chosen reputation over love, silence over justice. And now, fate had placed Maya in her home, wearing the very locket that carried her family's shame. Margaret realized with crushing clarity that history was circling back. Her son had chosen love over prejudice, just as her brother once had. The question was, would she repeat the cruelty of the past, Or would she break the cycle? When morning came, Margaret gathered her courage and called Maya into the garden. Her voice trembled as she explained the truth. The story of her brother, of Lillian, of the necklace that bound their stories together. Maya listened quietly, her hand never leaving the locket. When Margaret finished, silence hung heavy between them. Then Maya spoke softly. That pain doesn't have to live forever. Your family's past doesn't have to be your son's future. Those words pierced Margaret's heart. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine redemption. Margaret walked back into the mansion changed. She looked at her son and saw not just a reflection of his father, but a chance to right the wrongs she had allowed to happen long ago. William loved Maya with a sincerity that was undeniable. And for the first time, Margaret realized she could either destroy that love as her family once had, or protect it. That evening, she sat with Edward and told him everything. He was furious at first, unwilling to let go of old prejudices. But Margaret stood firm, her voice steady in a way it had never been before. She would not allow the past to repeat itself. In the weeks that followed, something remarkable happened. Margaret's icy distance began to melt. She spoke to Maya not as the outsider, but as a young woman with dignity, courage, and a history that deserved to be honored, not erased. And slowly, the mansion that had once been defined by silence began to breathe a different air, one of healing, of possibility, of love. Margaret kept the photograph of her brother and Lillian on her desk, no longer hidden. It reminded her every day that silence can destroy, but truth can heal. And so, when she looked at Maya again, she didn't see just a necklace. She saw history reclaimed. She saw love given another chance. Because sometimes the past doesn't come back to haunt us. It comes back to give us one more chance, to choose differently.